Hey guys, it's Gil and Renée of the Rich Relationship Refuge, and we are in Shaka Springs.
Weekend retreat couples, you better be doing it, because if you're not, you're gonna be in trouble.
This could be part of the reason why your relationship is struggling, because you're not prioritizing getting away and spending time as a couple and spending time with other couples. So we have a couple that's in front of us, and they're going to share their story of how they met and how the cougar found the lion.
Or the lamb. He said the lamb. No. We'll let them tell you.
He is not no lamb. Him is a lion, y'all. Him is a lion.
We got Stacy and Juawanna McGhee with us, and we're going to let them tell their story because we just started laughing about it. But we're going to let them tell it because we want to share it with y'all. So hold on, and we're going to share it with you coming up next in this episode. All right? Back with Miss Juawanna and Stacy McGhee, and they're telling their story. So, Mr. Stacy, you started telling the story, so please go ahead and continue, please. How you feel so victimized and everything.
Well, I'm not really victimized, but to whomever it may be concerned, and this is something that I think people need to know. You know, when myself, a young man, was out there, and an older woman approached me in my younger days, you know, which is my wife today. Her name is Juawanna. I thank God for such a beautiful woman. Our relationship started.
Juawanna, feel free to jump in there and stop.
I am.
Okay.
Actually, our relationship started 2 years after. Actually, I met my wife. I remember I was in my brother's car. You know, back in the days, back in the 70s or the 80s. You know, he had a car, had a lot of sound in it. You know, I was rolling down. I was going somewhere, and actually, the car went dead. Because the battery went dead in the car, so I pulled on side the road, and Juawanna drove by, and I think it was old brown 98. What type of car was it?
I can't remember.
I remember like it was yesterday. And she stopped and asked me, did I need any help? You know, me back in the days, I was into myself. I said, no, go ahead on, you know. And then it was. And then it's like, man, you know, I had forgot all about her, what I went to school, my life, what's so. And I met her, I think it was at, was it the fairgrounds or something first? Yeah. And you know, we met the fairground, I touched her, and then, you know, after I touched her, she started giggling like a little high school girl. I said, okay, I got her.
Did not.
Yes, she did. Don't worry about it, you know. and then I think it was late on that night, we actually went to a club.
Yeah.
That's where we really met her, at the club. You know?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Juawanna, you got to talk about the club now.
I mean, it wasn't.
Because you look like you enjoyed that part.
I did. I used to love the club. And I did see
the dancing.
It was just everything about the club. Yeah.
No, about me.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was me. Go ahead, baby. Continue.
Okay. Well, yeah, no. It was the club. And so I didn't even know I was going to see him that night after we got to the club. But yeah, when I did see him at the fairground, he just did this little thing. You know, I guess he was trying to flirt. I don't know. But, you know,
well, he was young. He didn't know.
Yeah, I forgot. He was young.
He was so young.
Yeah, he was very young.
Yeah, I was. I was a lamb.
Yeah. And so after that, like I said, we went to the club and we ended up dancing together, and he couldn't dance at all, but he was doing his best, and it, you know.
So it wasn't his dance move?
No, it was not. But yeah, we danced and we didn't do too much hanging out that night. But after that, I really didn't think I was gonna see him again. And I remember, was it the next night or the night after?
I think it was the next night.
Okay. Well, anyways, he came over my house. But I didn't know he was outside. And one of my friends, she said, "Oh, Stacy's outside." I was like, "For real? Is he outside for real?" So and I got myself together, whatever. And then I went outside to talk to him a little bit, and it wasn't. I should have left him at the club. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I should have left him at the club after that.
About that, yeah. You know, in our relationship, and I thank God for our relationship now.
Yeah.
But going through, it was a struggle because, you know, my wife's looking for something that I wasn't looking for. Mm-hmm. You know, I wasn't looking to be settled down. And the reason why, because me growing up, my father worked all the time. I didn't have no type of leadership. I mean, I had leadership, but someone to show me how to be a man. I didn't have that. but besides my brothers, and you know, my older brother, and I did what I saw him do.
Right.
Run the women. You know, not to be settled down with anyone, and that's the type of demeanor I had. You know, and so I remember one day my wife told me it's gonna be all or nothing. And I said, well, it's gonna be nothing, because I'm about to get out. You know, and even before that, I want to go back. You know, I remember the time me and my wife went to the mall together, and you know, back then, you know, went to the mall, you dressed up, this and that back in the day. She tried to hold my hand in the mall. And I remember, which I'm like, wow, I had did that, but I cursed her like a sailor. You know, why you trying to hold my hand? But I said, you don't have my other words behind that, you know. And it's just, you know, a lot of things that my wife had to endure because of my ignorance, me not knowing, you know, how to treat a woman, or the things I should say or should not say. And you know, and I guess from that point in my life, you know, with me and her in our relationship, it really wasn't good, because I really didn't have no one to teach me, you know, how to be a respectful young man to a woman. You know, and I went off to college and this and that, came back. I mean, a lot of things happened within our relationship that I look back on today and I said, man, Lord, forgive me. You know, and I asked her to forgive me, because, you know, what she had to endure, what she shouldn't have, you know, and it hurt me. And actually, to be honest with you, be truthful, it hurts today. And that's why I do anything well for this woman, because of the things that she put up with, you know, and just like, you know, things that, you know, that eats me up on the inside, you know, and this is something that up to anyone to be careful what you say.
Okay, so we heard the story from the lamb lion, and so now we're going to hear the story from the lioness, not the cougar.
Thank you.
Come on, Joe. Tell them your side of the story.
Okay, my side of the story is, yes, he did do a lot. But in doing all that he was doing, he still would not let me move on. Although he had moved on, he wouldn't let me move on. So I was telling about the time we went to when he had left school, called me. Now we were in a relationship, but he called me and said, I can't do no distant relationship. Okay. So I'm just trying to move on. I go to the club. Guess who calling the club for me?
Back in the day when you had a rotary phone, a phone on the wall.
Yeah,
right?
yes.
No cell phones.
No, not at that time. So he calling the club, telling me to go home. Yeah, telling me to go home. And then after he had moved back, he was hanging out with me one night, and yeah, when you said, oh, I got a toothache, I'm going home. And so, yeah, and find out he didn't go home and he didn't have a toothache. He wanted to go hang out at the club. But then I got a call from the club saying he was there. So then now I'm calling the club telling him, you better go home. But before he could get to the phone, well, when they said you got a call, he left. He knew. And so then my friend called me back and she said, she said, cause Stacy got out of here quick.
Scared of the lion, huh?
Yeah. And then even after that, like I say, after he did say, you know, I told him, I said, look, because I was tired of the back and forth, you're not gonna do right. And I said, I need all or nothing. And he said, I can't give you all. I said, well, I don't want nothing. And so he left. And it took me a few days to, you know, get past that. So when I was finally like, I can do this single thing, you know, I'm good, you know. I get a knock at the door, and I say, I know this is him. I'm like, I'm in a good place.
It's the lamb. It's the lamb.
It's the lamb. I open the door, he's standing there. I can't stay away. Oh, but you don't want to go right. And so after that, we still went through our ups and downs and all that, but I was in it. Because when I first met him, I had said I wanted to be with him forever. That was just it, you know. So I dealt with a lot of stuff. Yeah, you knew that.
I should have kept doing what I'm doing there.
No.
And the reason why I came back, I left a pair of shoes over there.
No.
That's
Really?
okay.
But no, so like I said, I was in it for the long haul. This was my forever, so I dealt with some things, and so I didn't really know. Sometimes you hold things in and everything. So one day it was like I was still holding everything against him, everything I went through, and I remember telling him one day, I hate you for everything you've done to me, everything you've done to me. But I think just telling him that and dealing with it helped us move on. So we've been doing good. You know, like I said, we all have our ups and downs, but for the most part, this is still my forever. And he's gonna always be my forever.
So I got a question.
Yeah.
If you were giving advice to couples, whether they're dating or married, what, based on your story, life experiences, what is something that you can tell them to think about as they grow in their relationship?
I think coming from me, I think my biggest thing was that, you know, to know what you want in life. Because actually, I didn't know what I wanted in life. I was just out being willy-nilly doing what I wanted to do. And I didn't know that at the time God had sent someone into my life, which was my wife. But you know, I wasn't listening. I was still about me doing me. And I think that, you know, at the time I didn't have no type of foundation. No foundation whatsoever. You know, a lot of times we think that we have it all together, and we think that we don't need help. We think that, you know, I guess, you know, this is me, I'm gonna do me. Doing me is not good all the time, you know. And so I think that with all that being said, knowing who you are, knowing what you want in life, having a great foundation to stand on is what I needed. Because like I said at the time, I didn't know what I had. I didn't know what God had sent me. And I thank God that, you know, she's still here today because, you know, I don't know where I'd be without her, to be honest with you. You know, so my purpose in life, you know, today one of my purposes is to make sure she's taken care of, no matter what. You know, I go to the end of the earth for this woman, and she know it, you know. And so I'm thankful that I have this opportunity to take care of her, you know, now that I have a foundation, now that I know what I'm doing. And my foundation is Christ.